Why is it important to replace your roof after a storm? I get that question asked a lot. What happens is hail creates damage on the roofing system. What it does is it displaces the granules that protect the actual roofing material, the tar and the fiberglass. Once those granules are displaced, then that exposes the tar and the fiber, eventually the fiberglass, to UV rays. Once those UV rays are on the fiberglass, the deterioration is exponential, meaning that it'll go 10 times faster when that happens. So what you want to do is, the problem is that doesn't happen right away. And hail damage usually doesn't cause leaks. It's not for a year, sometimes 2 or 3 years later until you're noticing the after effects of the damage. The problem is by that time, the insurance company is out of their fiduciary responsibility to pay for you, because you have a responsibility as a homeowner to report damages. Usually they give you about 1 year to report a loss. Anything outside of that, then they could potentially get out of that coverage. And we deal with this all the time. Carriers are starting to get a lot more literal with their policies. You have 1 year from the time of reported date of loss to report damage to your insurance company. Otherwise, they are not financially responsible for any damages caused by that storm. So it's important right after a storm that you at least get a roofer up there. If it's not us, then it's some other reputable local roofer. You get them up there and look and see if you have any damage. If you don't, then that's great. We provide a roof health system report for you. And so that way in the future, if you do have damage that might be an eligible covered peril, then you can say, hey, my roof at this time did not have any damage. This time last year or this time 2 years ago didn't have any damage. And so now I have damage. And they can't say that's old damage, because that's the first go-to with any insurance company is to go to, well, that's old damage. We're not responsible because it didn't happen within this policy year. So at worst, you will have fuel and ammunition to go against the carrier and say that, hey, at this time, at this date, we didn't have any damage. We now have damage. And here's a pro tip for you. I hate to say this, but 95% of insurance companies are not on your side. They're only going to pay when they absolutely have to pay. The problem is when we get homeowners insurance, we think about worst case scenario. My house burns down, the tornado tears it away, earthquake, whatever, these large catastrophic losses. We don't think in terms of wind and hail damage with my $18,000 to $25,000 roof that I'm responsible for 1% to 2% of the home's value. And nowadays that's anywhere between $3,000 and $9,000. We've seen deductibles as high as $15,000 for a $25,000 roof. That is virtually, you are self-insured. Now, yeah, if your house gets torn up, knocked to the ground by a fire or a tornado or something, yeah, $15,000 to pay to rebuild your house is not that big of a deal, or it's not that big of a responsibility on your part. But that same deductible is due no matter what the loss is. Whether the loss is $15,000, whether the loss is $2,000, you're still responsible for your deductible before they pay out anything. So check your policies, make sure that you have a good policy. You should have a replacement cost value policy. Make sure you don't have a bunch of exclusions on there. Make sure that your policy is good. If you want any help with that, consult some kind of expert in insurance policies. We deal with insurance companies all the time. We know we're not allowed to talk about it like specifically because of UPPA laws, unauthorized practice of public adjusting. We're not licensed adjusters. But I will say, get with your company, make sure that all your coverages are up to date, that your home is valued at what it should be valued at, and make sure that you don't have a separate wind and hail deductible than your home deductible. And a lot of times that wind and hail deductible is higher than the home deductible. So for instance, you might have a 1% dwelling deductible, but a 2% wind and hail deductible. So just make sure that you're up to date, you know what's in your policy, you know what your deductibles are, and that you don't have a bunch of crazy exclusions. If we can help you in any way, give us a call. My number is 817-707-2368. That's my personal cell number. Give me a call and I'll help you in any way I can.